Okay, my name is Tony Perzow, and I'm a negotiation subject matter expert. I specialize in sales negotiation. That's my specialty now. I used to teach everybody, but now I specialize with salespeople because salespeople need the most help when it comes to negotiation, in my opinion. I also incorporate not just negotiation training, but I also incorporate artificial intelligence as well. I'm a brand ambassador for a company called Gong. Anybody hear of a company called Gong, a startup out of Israel who's changing the way we sell? Well, they plugged in over 5 million sales conversations through their algorithm, and the data we're getting back about what people are doing on telephone conversations, video conferencing conversations is pretty amazing. So I'll be incorporating a lot of that stuff into my presentation today. And I'm also a specialist in challenger sale methodologies. Anybody hear of challenger sale in the room? Okay, all right, good. All right, well, I won't be talking about challenger sale today. But I'm a negotiation subject matter expert, meaning I speak about negotiation. I train companies in negotiation. I've had the good fortune of training some of the biggest companies in the world in negotiation, companies like Apple, Red Bull, Samsung, Intel, Microsoft, Boeing, Bombardier, Pepsi, Taco Bell, and the list goes on and on. So you guys are in good hands today. Today is a 2.5-hour presentation, and my goal, my objective for all of you today is I want you to walk out of this room completely transformed in the way that you approach your negotiations. That is my promise to you, and I think when you do walk out of this room today, you will have a completely different perspective, a different lens in which you look at negotiation through, and possibly even sales. So that's my promise to you today. Let me start off with a little bit of science, okay? So there was the biggest negotiation study experiment ever conducted was in 2007-2008 by the Global Contract Management Association. There's never been an experiment of this kind. It was a 2-year study where 5,000 participants were part of this study. 62% of the participants were director level or above. 74% of the participating organizations were in the Forbes Global 2000 list, and 42% were in the Global 500 list. And it was an equal distribution between sell side and buy side. So these were the biggest companies in the world who were participating in this negotiation study. I'm not going to bore you with all the details of it, but I'll give you some of the biggest insights that they found. The biggest one that they found was this, that 80% of companies have no formal negotiation process whatsoever. 80% of companies. Which means the biggest companies in the world, most of them, are leaving their profits, they're leaving their margins in the hands of people who are going out there shooting from the hip, hoping for the best, which is a big problem. Here are a few quotes from this big study. So a Global 500 sales director explains this. We don't prescribe how our employees should negotiate. There is no Bible for this. We have 45 divisions worldwide, and it is impossible to have a standard process. So this person just says it's just too difficult, above my pay grade, we're not going to deal with it. A contracts director explains this. We don't need a rigid process, as most negotiators understand the value of trades. This person is completely oblivious and probably should not have this job, but this person is saying, we're already good at it. We don't need any help. A learning and development director, these are usually who I find are the smartest people within the organization, or they know what's best for the organization. They're also the people who hire me, so I'm a little biased in this opinion. I usually like these people the best. But this one says, we have a formalized sales methodology, and our salespeople are clear on the selling process. However, there is no negotiation process, and I don't feel we have a competitive advantage in negotiation. Okay, so what I'm showing you right here is, it's a graph, but I'm not going to spend too much time on this. All these companies here in the pink region, or the peach region here, these were companies that had absolutely no negotiation process whatsoever. Nothing. Nobody was trained in negotiation. No one knew how to do negotiation. There was no process whatsoever. These companies in that 2-year period saw a net decrease, a decrease of 63.3% to their net income. Purple region were companies that had somewhat of a negotiation training. They trained their people maybe. They had some sort of process that they had to adhere to. These companies had a 16.2% increase to their net income. And these companies right here in green, these were companies that invested a lot of money in their negotiation training. There was a rigid process. Everybody had to learn how to negotiate. Companies like DuPont were part of this group right here. And these companies in that 2-year period had a 42.5% increase to their net income. So, negotiation is important, all right? Negotiation is very important. So why the hell am I not booked every single day of my life, companies banging down my door saying, please, Tony, come and train us. Please, Tony, come and train us. Why aren't companies, and you guys are, but why aren't most companies, knowing that this data is out there, why aren't companies investing in negotiation training? Why do you think? Okay, there we go. Good job. What they found in this 2-year study, millions and millions and millions of dollars invested in the study, what they found was that people tend to think they're great negotiators. People tend to have an inflated view of their own negotiation capabilities. Here are a few quotes. A Global 500 legal director explains this. We face a lot of resistance as people have a bit of an inflated view of their own abilities as negotiators. People already think they are good negotiators, so they don't think they need any training. A learning and development director at one of the big 4 accounting firms confirms this belief. The partners think they are untouchable, so leadership is untouchable, above training, and won't commit any time to it. Unfortunately, it is the same partners who are wheeled in at the last minute to save the deal and often end up giving huge concessions. So I taught many, many years for Karrass, and as you know, who've been through the Karrass seminar, that a lot of people are not happy to be in my seminar. They walk in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they don't want to be there. Their companies are forcing them to go there. And I don't know how many times in my years at Karrass, people came up to me and said, Tony, this is great stuff, but I really don't need to be here. I'm from New York. I already know how to negotiate. I've heard that over my years at Karrass over 100 times. I'm from New York. I'm good. I'm fine. I don't need to be here. So people tend to think because they're from New York or they had a grandmother or a granddad who was really good at negotiating that it kind of got ingrained in them. It's not the case. Negotiation is a massive subject. It's a massive, massive subject. I think I have a word in I think I have a say in this as well. I've trained over now 15,000 people in negotiation, and what I have found is just kind of the flip side of this. I have found this, that yes, people think they're already great negotiators, but people don't know how bad they really are at negotiating. So if people understood how ineffective they were at negotiating generally, then I think people would be lining up around the block to learn how to negotiate. So these are the 2 big things. So negotiation is a skill. It's a skill. Most of us are not born with it. It's a skill. It's also a game. We need to learn how to play the game of negotiation. We need to learn the skills required. We need to practice these skills. We need to learn all the different complexities of negotiation. It's a skill that we need to learn, okay? And if we can learn the skill of negotiation, what we wind up doing better is this. We wind up deadlocking less. Average negotiators, I'm not going to say bad negotiators. I think there are average negotiators, which are most people, and there are skilled negotiators. Average negotiators tend to deadlock more. Why? Why do average negotiators deadlock more? Pardon me? No clear strategy. They don't have a plan. They're not prepared. They're shooting from the hip. They make mistakes. They say dumb things. I think what you said as well, combative. I think without negotiation skill, we're more combative. That's what I have found. That with skill, you learn to put your ego aside. You learn to say the right things, you learn what things not to say, and you learn to keep the relationship intact. Skilled negotiators tend to lose their cool a lot more. They tend to take negotiation a lot more personally. Once you see this process as a game, you take it less personally. So we're in business to make deals happen. You guys are in sales to sell, not to deadlock. Buyers are in procurement to buy, not to deadlock. So we don't want to deadlock when we negotiate. And the second thing we don't want to do is we don't want to leave money on the table, right? We don't want to leave money on the table. When we don't have negotiation skill, we leave money on the table. And whenever we leave money on the table, it's actually a choice we're making. Obviously, it's not a conscious choice, but when you leave money on the table, you're making a choice because somewhere along the way in that negotiation, you made a choice, you made a decision that wound up leading to you leaving money on the table when different options were available to you. So I'm going to be going over some of those options for you today. You will walk out of here today with tools and skills that will immediately impact your negotiations. Immediately.